Or should I say afternoon, YouTube. I am the City Prepper. Today is November 27th, 2024. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. To those that I will not speak to tomorrow, happy Thanksgiving. This is a year to be truly thankful. If any other years or scenarios that were typically going on in the world, to be thankful regardless, but this year holds more significance because of what is going on in the world. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. That's why you truly need to take care of your health, your mental health, your physical health, your loved ones, and to be self-reliant. I've said it numerous videos that the government is not your friend. They're not having your best interest in mind. And just because we were given a gift of not having a liberal communist agenda shoved down our throats for the next 4 years, that this administration is going to be doing anything typically out of the ordinary to keep you alive. There's going to be a lot of pushback, whether it's from this administration or not, and I think that you have to take into your own hands. Today's video on Dark Night Medics is going to be about Israeli or compression bandages, the uses for them, and how to use it. And you should be learning these things while you still have the gift of the internet. You should be learning these things not just for you, for loved ones and for strangers. And you truly should be taking the next however much time left we have until there is chaos, because there's going to be, to learn these different items. Today's video is going to be talking about the upcoming war that will be coming in Europe. NATO has been broadcast different countries as well as organizations about the upcoming war, that there's war on the horizon. I can see that. Numerous different channels have been talking about it on YouTube. All the media has been talking about it, and it's clear as day in the mainstream media that the broadening war because of the conflict in Ukraine and Russia is going to happen. There's been numerous instances where Russia was launching a missile strike, where another country was hit and there was life lost as a result. That's going to continue to happen, and we are one bad missile strike away from a regional conflict. When you have companies like BlackRock and so on and so forth being warned about war, that typically means that something's happening. Finland and Sweden are both warning their citizens to prepare for a cold winter of war, and I think it's truly going to happen. Now the world sees us as weak. We're going to be weak for the next 60 days, and this is going to be the time that they act. It's going to be putting Trump at a very difficult position, especially being a meatball. And I do see China taking a play on Taiwan in the next weeks, not days, but next weeks. And this is a dangerous thing. It is a very dangerous scenario. A Russian bank or a Russian entity is halting the trade of US dollars. And I spoke about this in yesterday's video. A regional war in Europe is not per se a direct conflict for us, but it is going to have massive indirect ramifications as a result. It is no secret that we are backing Ukraine in this. We're funneling them with money, with weaponry, and this is being done for one, money back to the Democratic Party, and two, to have gain of function for some of this outdated technology. Regardless if it's outdated or not, a lot of this technology was instrumental in the beefing up of our own supplies, and we've almost but deplenished a lot of that. We are now relying on a lot of these chips being made in Taiwan or China in order to have some of these new age futuristic missiles and weapons that we used, and we simply do not have the parts to do that. This is very apparent. It's in almost every mainstream periodical. A lot of these generals are coming out of turn and talking about this, and that should be deeply concerning. Whether this big giant psyop or we truly do not have the supplies to count another war is yet to be determined, but this is also a gain of function experiment. We haven't really been in a hot war with conventional weapons in a very long time. Fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan all these years, you're not typically dealing with high-end technology. A lot of these jihadists or freedom fighters, whatever the hell they would, Taliban, whatever you want to call them or they call themselves, are using guerrilla tactics and old Soviet era technology. You're not seeing a conventional army against conventional army. You're seeing that right now in Ukraine and in Russia. And as a result, the US has been providing a lot of weaponry for that gain of function to see what's working, what's not working, so we can improve upon our own weaponry. The only problem with that is you've almost depleted a lot of the supplies and resources that we have had to secure our country. This was done by design. The Biden administration left billions of dollars of small arms, technology, and helicopters, you name it, in Afghanistan. Didn't bother to take it out, didn't bother to destroy it. You've had Pakistan and some other countries just come in and learn how to use it by reverse engineering it, and that is a huge problem because now we do not have supplies. Countries are being sold this different technology in the black market and is putting our men and women behind the eight ball. The ramifications that we are going to see is that is I think, if not the best or the number one provider of grain export. Your breads, your grains, that's going to skyrocket more than what it is. You're going to see the US dollar topple as a currency, and there is possibility for war to start because of that. Up and since the World War II, that the US petrodollar was the only way to trade oil. And that kept us as the superpower that we were. And with the inception of BRICS, you're really throwing the U.S. off of its high horse, its hill, its throne, and it is causing problems here. Inflation is through the roof. You have employment through the roof. The average price of a house is unobtainable or unaffordable, especially with both partners working to provide income. You have the nuclear family being destroyed. You're having the ability to have a mom and dad or both two children gone. Children are being raised by school or babysitters, and it's taking God out of the equation. And this is where we are as a civilization. This is where we are as Americans, and it is definitely concerned. And I think everything going on between the transfer of power that's supposed to take place in the end of January, the threat of not certifying a vote, the threat of backlash and pushback from some of the policies that have already been outlined for the next 4 years is going to cause major problems in our own country. And I think that you need to prepare. There's not going to be a time where I'm going to get out here and say that, oh, the sky is falling, this is happening, this is happening. Like, this is the reality that we're living in. In some of our own cities in the U.S., you're seeing violent, illegal migrant gangs taking over. And this isn't violence that we are accustomed to, and that state itself sounds terrible. In some of these violent cities, New York, Baltimore, Houston, people are accustomed to gang-on-gang violence, to typical robberies, and that's hard to say. And there was typically certain groups that were left off the table from this violence. Women and children typically didn't get messed with, and special needs individuals. Now that's completely off the table. These migrant gangs and the violence that they're bringing is unlike anything that we've ever seen. You're causing police departments to have bare minimum numbers because nobody wants to take that job. Having EMS and first responders, same thing, nobody wants to do that. A hospital here in Staten Island, which has security, unarmed, of course, because why would you need an armed hospital? I know, silly, right? was attempting to remove an family member, and that individual was stabbed in the hand, non-life threatening, but stabbed. This is the world where violence is absolutely sickening, and it's only going to continue to get worse. Areas in Staten Island that were never violent are violent and very, very concerning. Tell anybody that visits my house to always look out that window before you open that door. You just never know these days. And that's a sad world to be living in, but it is reality. The whole world is on the cusp of absolute chaos and disorder. We've never seen things like this. Never. You read it in the history books, this is like beyond barbaric and archaic. And you have people in our own government who are saying that they are here for you and to provide for you and care for you, do not have your interest. They have their own pockets in mind. All they care about is making deals so that their proxies can make money, and then they'll get paid funding to give speeches. This is the world that we are living in, and it is absolutely disgusting. You need to be self-reliant. Cannot stress that enough. I'm reading some of the comments as we are speaking. Many people in Western North Carolina are still suffering or not receiving help from the administration, which is very true. This administration is more concerned about providing our illegal neighbors or residents with thousands of dollars to make sure that they are culturally appropriate food is given to them than caring for U.S. citizens that have been paying you taxes and Social Security for forever. Administration is discussing transfer nuclear weapons to Ukraine. If this happens, Ukraine will use them likely against Moscow. So to answer that, from what I'm being told and done research on, Ukraine, when it was part of the Soviet Union, had a stockpile of nuclear weapons. As part of a treaty, they were removed. I was not under the impression they were getting the actual ones back. I think the ban was going to be lifted. And if that happens, like the second part of your comment is, they will use them. We may not make it to January 20th before war breaks out, and you agree with that. I think war is going to be hot in Europe before the new year, if before Christmas. I'm in Western Oklahoma and get armed as much as possible. My safety is my responsibility. And to my point I just made earlier, I think that even if these towns that are relatively safe, or you're in these areas that are typically non-violent, yes, you be armed and with that mindset of taking care of your own self-defense and that of your family. Things can happen anywhere. I think it was a few years ago, a little hodunk town in Texas was having a church, just a mass or service, and an armed individual came in, no rhyme nor reason, and started shooting. And it was the average everyday citizens that neutralized and stopped that threat. And this will be the only way to stop that. Law enforcement, as much as I love and appreciate law enforcement, especially in these blue, democratic, and liberal cities, their hands are tied, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated, and it makes them simply want to get there, take their report, and to go home to their family. And I'm not blaming any of them for wanting to do that. I actually feel really bad for a lot of these individuals that take this job, especially in today's society, but they do not have the backing of local, state, and federal politicians on the most part. And if it's going to be them going home to their family, not in jail, not getting sued, or them potentially going to jail, getting sued, and running their name through the mud for doing something to protect and preserve life, 99% of them are going to choose going home and just taking a report. And that leaves you left to hold the bag. So be mindful of that next time you decide to be in a situation that's not good for you. I'm not telling you to not go out of your house. I'm not telling you to not go into public and to live life as you should. Absolutely do all that. but you need to be more cognizant of where you're going, where the exits are, what's your escape route. And it's sad for me to tell people that. I grew up in America, as well as most of you have, where you could walk to school a mile away. Kids can be then outside and just be home when the lights come on. Um, this isn't the America that it was 20 years ago. This is not the America it was 50 years ago. And malice and the egregious lack of respect for one another, I don't think we're ever going to get there. There is, with all this technology and cameras being everywhere, your people just don't care anymore, and it's everywhere. I'm looking out my window right now because I'm waiting for a package to build more of the Dark Knight medic kits, and it's very prevalent. I'm watching a stop sign. Nobody's coming to a stop, just rolling right through it. When you get away from broken windows theory, which New York City was heavily based on, you fix small the whole premonition of broken windows theory is you fix small problems before they become big problems. Meaning, if you have an abandoned building and you start seeing broken windows, then you're gonna start seeing spray paint, and then you're gonna start seeing holes through the building, and next thing you know, the copper pipes are gone. That's the whole purpose behind broken windows theory. You stop things small to prevent bigger things. When you take away law enforcement's ability to police, you're having the problem you're having now, like you are in New York, where there's cans of tuna and deodorant are locked up. I have to a little buzzer, wait 2-3 minutes for some underpaid whatever teen to come over and give me a limit of how much toothpaste I have per transaction because they're worried about people stealing it. If that's the America that you want to live in because it's all fair for everybody, oh, because only one demographic is getting punished, this, that, and the other. If that's the America you want to live in and have to pay higher premiums when you go purchase this stuff, God bless you. But that's not where I want to live. I don't want to live where I have to ring a bell to have somebody come give me a $10 tub of toothpaste when that used to cost $2, and I had the ability to buy 100 if I wanted to. This is what we're living in. And the only way is for people to take matters in their own hands. And I don't mean grabbing a pitchfork and going a riot. I'm not saying to do that at all. This channel has always talked about peace. This channel has always talked about self-reliance. You need to vote people to be vocal about it, and you need to call the cops when things are happening in front of you. That's the problem that a lot of us are not realizing. When you simply saying, well, it's not happening to me, and allowing things to happen, this is why things are going to continue to happen. People are emboldened by the lack of actions on people. A lot of these stores have policies. I'm not going to name any because I don't want anybody to have the wrong idea. A lot of these have policies to not call 911 until 2 to 3 hours after because they're worried about the individual getting arrested, getting let go at a summons or a court date a later hour and coming back and hurting someone or causing more of an issue. This is why people are so emboldened to do the things that they're doing. I literally watched an individual get off of a Ducati bike about 2 summers ago. Gets off of a Ducati bike. For those of you that know motorcycles, that's probably about a $50,000 to $100,000 motorcycle. Gets off, takes out a little sack, opens it up, walks in, just steals baby formula, gets on the bike and just drives. I've never seen stuff like that in my life. And this is going to continue to happen. This is going to continue to be an issue. I know I'm getting off topic, and I do apologize for that because I see the viewers going down as I'm on box this morning. But I think that if a pocketed regional war happens in Europe, it's going to be catastrophic for the U.S. One, because as long as the dipshit in charge is at the helm, we're going to be giving weapons, we're going to be flaring and fueling flames, and it's going to continue to put us in a bad position. You have superpowers that are involved that are either going to have enough of our shit and strike the mainland or strike a territory that is nearby. And that is going to leave us with no choice to go into a hot war. A hot is a very bad thing. And at this point, I think I lost it. I think at this point, a hot war with any superpower is going to have negative and bad ramifications for us. A lot of people are sitting here and watching and don't know that a lot of this is good. And I highly suggest you read up on it because a hot war is going to have indirect and potentially direct ramifications here at home. And it's not going to be a good thing, especially if we continue to give our supplies to Ukraine and Israel and whoever, and then you're going to have, excuse me, a hot war going on where we need it and don't. That's why I have advocated numerous times to have two of something, because two is one is none, meaning something breaks down, at least you have a backup. We're in a position that we might not have that. And our strategic gas supplies, because gas and all this other happy shit to the rest of the world has gone down, and we're not going to have that. That's why we need that Keystone pipeline up and running. This is why I've talked about diversifying portfolios. Gold and silver, gold is still up. Silver is down $1 or $2 from where it was. I believe recently it hit as high as like 34.50. I think it's hovering around the $30, $31 range right now. And it'll go up. And once this hot war starts going on, that's going to go up. So I highly suggest you diversify your portfolio. I personally use JM Bullion. I don't have any affiliation with them, but you need to start taking off these things. You need to start figuring out what you're going to do, especially if you're in a position of living check to check. A lot of these jobs, if you're not a first responder or an essential worker, are expendable. You're seeing in the fast food industry where you had 10 people working a register, now you have one overseeing electronic registers. This is the world we are in. And if you take any ability of having the US dollar as a global standard, you're going to have the end of us being the head superpower as you know it. And that is going to lead to Soviet style techniques where there's going to be the government involved in price control at the stores, which Kamala Harris was trying to do, which is going to lead to a lot of issues. If Europe goes into a war, we will be involved in some way, shape, or form in the beginning of it, which will ultimately lead into American lives being lost, fighting a war that is not ours, we have no business being in. This is not a World War II situation where the mainland was attacked. And if you believe for a second that the US government had no clue that a whole fleet of Japanese ships and planes were coming in this direction, you better start reading. They're called false flags for a reason. And it's happened throughout history. It's the reason why we got into Vietnam. It's the reason why we got into World War II. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we were in wars that we had business being in. Do I believe that we needed to be in Iraq? No. There was no weapons of mass destruction. You had an individual that ruled with an iron fist, and taking him out left to global and regional ability, and it's been nothing but cause enemies. You have the US government in there causing an issue, looking for mass destruction weapons that were not there, and you're, whether or not, killing individuals over there. Again, not demonizing why that happened, but kids are witnessing that growing up and being future jihadists and terrorists, and so like this is what it's causing. I don't think, unless your own citizens are being attacked on the mainland or through a government proxy, we should be getting involved in any of that. We should not have our hand in anything to do with Ukraine and Russia right now. That's their issue, not ours. If they take over a region over there, I mean, who? I think I am I on? Who are we to stop them at this point? Russia has no bearing on us, and to be giving weapons for gain of function and giving weapons to help them, we're not trying to help them. We're stirring a hornet's nest right now and funneling money, and all it's going to do is cause us to spend more money on Lockheed Martin and Boeing and all these other Halliburton, all these other billion-dollar industries. It's just a giant money suck is what this is. So if this war gets bigger because of all the bullshit that we're allowing Ukraine to do, excuse me, that is use long-range missiles, that is using anti-personnel mines, or allowing nuclear weapons to transfer hands, which again, I'm hearing conflicting stories. It is only going to be done to cause more of an issue. And you need to look at why this administration is doing that. What contracts are being made? Where are they putting money in? By the way, all of excuse me, the Senate, all their trading, their stock trading is public information, or at least it should be. So if you start seeing a lot of these people putting money in a certain area, get what that industry is used for and what they're doing, and do a little bit of research on that company. If it's starting to get behind, say for example, an electrician or electrical company and all that, what are they doing? What are they known for? If they're known for building some sort of component for weaponry, it's a very strong indication that a war is on the horizon, or will be very imminently. But my prediction is that there is going to be a hot static war outside of Ukraine and Russia in the next 60 days. I believe it's going to be before January. I believe it's going to be in the next 30 days. And this is very problematic for home. Winter is coming. The ability to grow food is all but gone, unless you have indoors. So now you're left with buying things store, or importing it, or your long-term food storage. And as I've said numerous times before, if you are opening the containers of your long-term food storage, you're literally hitting the stop clock on how long you will be alive. The minute you crack that seal, you are putting a time limit on your life, because now you are dependent on whatever food storage you have. And if you do not have a means of renewing that food storage, you're dead. Simple reality. It doesn't matter how much guns and self-defense and medical items you have, you just put an expiration date on your life. That's why you need to be completely self-reliant, have those seeds, know how to grow them, be wary that they're messing with some of these seeds, that the yields are not. You have to anticipate that. What if it's a bad spring, too much rain, not enough rain? What are you going to do? Do you know how to fish? Do you know how to hunt? Do you know how to gut a fish? Do you know how to trap? Do you know how to gut an animal? Do you know how to process it? How to jar it, to can it? Do you know how to do all that stuff? Our grandparents did, our great-grandparents did, our parents did. That skill is a dying art, because people would rather have kids than to have that ability. Any given day, any given supermarket, there's 3 days worth of supplies at that store. So if it's the only store in your area, you are now competing with everybody else to buy up everything, because we live in a capitalist society, and you're allowed to buy as much as you want relatively without there being a limit on things. You're allowed to buy as much as you want, how often you want. So now you're competing with everybody else to buy up whatever remaining supplies. I remember the beginning days of COVID, there was every major food store a run was done. There was no food. There was a little mini market near my mother's house that everything was gone. The shelves were bare. In the 30 plus years of going to that store, that was the first time in 30 years ever seeing their shelves completely bare. Anything was gone. Anything that had some sort of nutritional value to it was gone. And that's what we're going to be seeing in the near future. I think if there is a static war in Europe, we will eventually be involved. And companies tend to be, especially if it's an imported item, will be providing to that area, or they'll be buying up contracts. I believe it's Canadian Prepper was talking about a lot of his long-term food storage was bought. A lot of people reaching out about purchasing bags on a whole level because of a war. I forgot what country was talking about. They were converting some buildings into bomb shelters. This is not just simply fear porn. This is real things that are happening. Having a plan in order is not a bad idea. Practicing a plan is not a bad idea. Practicing your preps and practicing surviving on certain things, probably the best idea you should be having right now. It is a psychological mindset to eat and drink when an emergency is happening. Camping, if it's a regular camping trip, you're going to be fine. If there's something catastrophic going on in the nearby area, for example, if there's a wildfire, was it last summer, 2 summers ago, where the skies are orange in New York City because of something happening in Canada? I was upstate. I couldn't leave because the smog was so bad down here, and we're trying to get HEPA filters to make our own air purifier for state. That panic, natural instinct to eat and drink to preserve life will take into effect. So think about that when you calculate your food intake and water intake for an emergency situation. You're going to be consuming more food because of that biological instinct to do so. And it's going to be an urge to not do that. Try buying snacks for like when I was on the ambulance, I did a double, so I'm working 18 hours. You buy enough snacks for the night because you're doing an overnight, and you're just sitting in the ambulance bored. You're gonna be bored. These are things that people don't think about. You can't go out. You can't do anything. What are you gonna do? You're stressed. You can be bored. You gotta start practicing these stuff. Start really realizing that if you're setting a goal of 2,000 calories per person per day, you might get more, just simply because of the trauma and the stress that people are going to be going through. But if a static war happens in Europe, better believe we will be directly involved in one way or another, whether it is a base or an installation being attacked or embassy being attacked overseas. That is going to inject us into this. This is what they need. It's a fiat currency. You need war to continue to generate money and to generate power and so forth. And don't believe for a second, if the U.S. homeland is attacked, that the Democrats will try to suspend rule of law in order to keep power for as long as they can. Will it happen? Most likely not. Probably 0.9% no, but nothing is ever zero. Nothing is ever zero. Chances of a baby killing you are never zero, just like that. Think about what I just said. Can a baby kill you? Chances are zero, not never. But just pay attention to it. Last thing before I end for today, I will not be on tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, unless there's something major breaking. If you're going to be with your family, remember that tomorrow is not promised. Just because you're there tomorrow having dinner with them and laughing doesn't mean the next day is promised. Be thankful for your loved ones, regardless on how crazy they are and their political views and how they look at the world. Just be thankful that you have them. Be thankful that you're breaking bread with family. And for those of you that are watching this that are a first responder and the law enforcement and fire in the military, and you're not going to be with your family, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything. And God will be with you. That's all I can say, and just stay safe. Mark, as always, I appreciate your comment. I'll shoot you a text after I get off of the video. And after this video uploads, go to Dark Knight Medics. Just type in @Dark Knight, spelled with a K, Medics, and you will see last week's video on tourniquet application. And today's video is going to be about Israeli or compression bandages, however you word them. Some people don't like to use the word Israeli. However you want to refer to them as. It is definitely an invaluable way up your hands and apply pressure at the same time. Excuse me. So look out for that video. As I may or may not have stated, tomorrow starts the Black Friday sale for Dark Knight Medics. Everything will be 10% off for Thanksgiving and for Black Friday up until midnight on Saturday. So if you haven't done so, kits are starting at $18 with the 10% off. It's probably in the $17. So you can get a kit for starting at $17. That's the travel ouch pouch, and they go up depending on what's inside of them. And those get shipped out. They'll be to you before Christmas. So hopefully you guys check that out. I know a few of you on this channel have purchased them either directly from me on Instagram or through Etsy. If you are not the type to want to go through Etsy and you want to utilize Venmo, you can reach out to me at cityprepper718 at Proton Mail or at Dark Knight Medics on Instagram. Look for the German Shepherd silhouette, and we can do the transaction on there. It'll save you on fees from Etsy. Hopefully either this weekend or next, I will have the Dark Knight Medics website will be fully up. Mrs. prepping me with that. Thank God she knows how to do coding, because I don't. And we'll have some really cool products out there, whether it's the tactical first aid kits. Eventually we're gonna start getting into medical training, and we will get out into bag. You get some limited edition City Prepper items on there as well, but it'll be primarily for the Dark Knight Medic side of everything. So if you're just tuning in now, thank you. Please rewind the video. Happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you, and continue to practice preps. I highly suggest practicing the application of tourniquets. I highly suggest practicing sprouting seed, a simple grass seed, and learn how to water them, and practice dry firing your boomstick if you have not done so already. So can you hear me all? Can anybody else hear me? If you give me a thumbs up, I hope I'm not ranting and nobody can hear what I'm saying. If anybody else can hear what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up in the thread, not on the actual video. I hope I have had sound and volume. You can hear me? All right, great. All right, so guys, have a happy Thanksgiving. Check out the Etsy page for the Dark Knight Medic kits. The link will be in the video once this uploads. And it's a great stocking stuffer for the travel ouch pouch, as well as a great gift for anybody throughout this holiday season. There's no other greater gift you can give someone than the gift and the potential to preserve life. I cannot stress enough. Protecting life is absolutely, you should be protecting your life, your family's life, anybody's life that you can. But if you're able to help in a catastrophic injury, and it's rewarding feeling you can ever have. I've had the ability to save 2 people when I was not working on the ambulance. I was going home. There was one time I was coming back from upstate, and I did a tourniquet, and 2 other times I've done CPR. And every instance where I've did pre-hospital measures to intervene and to save life, I was able to either meet with the family or meet with that individual, and it is such a rewarding feeling. So if it's not going to be for a loved one and for your life, having the ability to save a stranger's life is still going to be the same rewarding feeling. And hopefully you're able to do that. I hope it's not anybody that you know, but having the ability to save someone's life is going to be the best gift you can ever get. And it also that air about you that people will love and respect. So check the website, and I will speak to you guys soon. Have a great day.